Welcome back. IS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi has made a rare appearance on camera, vowing to seek revenge for loss of its territory. He also says he has had pledges of allegiance from militants in Burkina Faso and Mali, and talks about the protests in Sudan and Algeria, claiming that jihad is the only solution to tyrants. For more international stories, here's Simon Pusey with Around the World in 5.
Good evening from the Channel's newsroom here in London. Tonight we begin with the Spanish elections, where Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez's socialists overcame a challenge by right-wing nationalists but failed to win an overall majority, as Isabel Morgan reports.
This was an election which changed Spain's political landscape. For the socialists, it was time to celebrate.
The Socialist Party has won the general election, and with that, the future has won and the past has lost.
But there were echoes of the country's turbulent past in the chanting of the Prime Minister's supporters. No pasarán, or they shall not pass, were reminders of the deep divisions between left and right which once led to civil war. The Socialists gained an almost 50% increase in seats because the opposition parties were splintered by the rise of the ultra-right Vox party. And for Vox leader Santiago Abascal, it was a historic result.
We told you we were initiating a reconquest, and that is exactly what we have done. A reconquest that has put a voice in Parliament, and that's why I can say clearly to all of Spain that Vox is here to stay.
In winning 24 seats, Vox became the first far-right party in Spain to have a major representation in Parliament since the death of dictator Francisco Franco in 1975. And as the country comes to terms with the outcome of the vote, it faces days, weeks or even months of political negotiation as the Socialists consider possible partners for a coalition government. Isabel Morgan, Channels Television News.
Authorities in Sri Lanka have banned women from wearing face veils following the Easter Sunday attacks by Islamist militants. The measures are to help security forces identify people as the hunt for the remaining suspects continues. Security has also been stepped up, with officials warning that the militants behind the suicide bombings were planning more attacks imminently. At least 250 people were killed and hundreds more injured in the bombings 8 days ago. In Bangladesh, security forces claim to have killed at least 2 people suspected of belonging to an Islamist militant group behind a cafe attack in Dhaka in 2016 that left 22 people dead. Police raided a hideout in the capital after receiving information about the presence of the suspected militants. The area was cordoned off whilst the operation continued to remove what was described as a huge amount of explosives. And now to northern Mozambique, where tropical cyclone Kenneth continues to wreak havoc. At least 5 people have died in the flooding and destruction caused by the strongest storm to hit the country since records began. Pemba, the regional capital of Cabo Delgado state, has borne the brunt of torrential rains and fierce winds. There are fears the death toll will rise as rivers burst their banks and landslides threaten to engulf residential areas. It's estimated that around 700,000 people are now at risk in a region still reeling from the devastation caused by Cyclone Idai 6 weeks ago. The battle for Tripoli continues as forces backing Libya's internationally recognized government fight house-to-house battles with troops loyal to the commander Khalifa Haftar in southern parts of the capital. Government soldiers appeared to be gaining ground as they fired on Haftar's positions. Haftar's Libyan National Army, which is allied to a rival administration in eastern Libya, mounted an offensive on Tripoli 3 weeks ago and, despite heavy fighting, has failed to breach the city's southern defenses. In the United States, survivors of a shooting in a synagogue in Poway in California have been speaking about the attack at the weekend, which left 1 person dead and several others wounded. Worshippers had gathered to celebrate Passover when the gunman entered the synagogue and opened fire. A 19-year-old man gave himself up to police shortly afterwards and is also being investigated in connection with an unsolved arson attack on a mosque. Rabbi Yisroel Goldstein described the moment he realized what was happening.
Here is a young man standing with a rifle, pointing right at me. And I look at him. He had sunglasses on. I couldn't see his eyes. I couldn't see his soul.
The rabbi lost a finger when he was shot in the hands. Amongst those who joined him to call for an end to the violence was the 8-year-old girl who was also injured in the attack. And finally, 2 pandas have left China for Russia as part of a 15-year research collaboration between the 2 countries. Ru Yi, the 2-year-old male, and Ding Ding, the 1-year-old female, had spent 1 month in quarantine ahead of the trip. They will be staying in Moscow Zoo as part of the research project. Meanwhile, the last 2 giant pandas living at the San Diego Zoo in California will be sent back to China in the next few weeks, ending a more than 2-decade conservation program. Bai Yun and her 6-year-old cub Xiao Li Wu will be heading home after they were loaned by the Chinese government in 1996. And that's your international news around the world in 5.
Thanks, Marachi. Well, the draw ceremony for the much-anticipated Lagos preliminaries for Season 11 of the Channels International Kids Cup will be held at the corporate headquarters of the station in Lagos on Tuesday. Already, 32 schools that cut across public and private primary schools have been selected for the draw. The football action for the Lagos preliminary will kick off on May the 2nd through the 7th. Tottenham Hotspur manager Mauricio Pochettino says he is already living the dream as he prepares to lead the London club into its biggest European match for 57 years against Ajax Amsterdam in the first leg of their UEFA Champions League semi-final on Tuesday. Spurs began the season with no new signings and the club's £1 billion stadium project running late, but now has the potential to climax in Madrid with the club's first ever appearance in the final of Europe's biggest club competition. And that's a wrap in sports news. The news at 10 continues shortly.
And the main news again. Bayelsa State Governor Seriake Dixon today declined assent to a bill seeking life pensions for former lawmakers of the state following a public outcry. Governor Dixon said the bill was both impracticable and inconsistent with the Constitution. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I am Amarachi Ubani. Good night.